Welcome to Veteran Resource Podcast, where you will meet nonprofit organizations focused on improving the lives of veterans and their family members. Here is your host, Jeremy Paris.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 12 of the Veteran Resource Podcast. Today's guest is Eryn Mounticure with Teach For America. I was just taking a look at the reviews. Wow, we have 71 reviews in there now. That is outstanding. And we officially fell off of iTunes New and Noteworthy. They only keep you on there for 8 weeks. But we did have a great run. I mean, ever since day 2, I would say we spent about 98% of the 8 weeks in the number one spot for our category. You can't get much better than that. And I owe each and every one of you a huge thank you. Even though we are out of New and Noteworthy, please keep the reviews coming. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit the button. As promised last week, I'm going to go ahead and read some reviews. The Champion Entrepreneur says, "Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your service and willingness to sacrifice for me and this country. I strongly support any podcast attempting to help veterans out. Thank you so much for sharing your resources and information." And VP Carter says, "Great job, Jeremy. Kudos to Jeremy for recognizing the need to highlight the many fantastic veteran service organizations out there. As a member of a military family, thank you." And Nikki Scoots says, "Great podcast. Really enjoyed this podcast. Jeremy sounds like a natural host and interviews his guests well. Great information. So glad there's a podcast like this." I love getting these reviews. So please, like I said, keep them coming. All right, on to the interview. Eryn comes from a military family. Her father served 28 years in the Army and retired as a colonel. Her brother is a graduate of West Point, and her husband is a captain in the Army. Growing up, Eryn learned every day what it meant to serve one's country, and after graduating from Florida State University, headed to Jacksonville as a Teach For America high school English teacher. Given Jacksonville's proximity to 2 naval bases and the strong NJROTC culture, Eryn got the chance to bring the military into her classroom every day and expose her students to the opportunities the military could provide them. Today, Eryn is the director of Teach For America's Military Veterans Initiative, helping to ensure that military veterans and spouses are aware of teaching as a second career and that students across the country benefit from their talents and commitment. Prior to this role, Eryn began TFA's Military Spouse Affinity Group to provide support for military spouses on staff who might feel particularly isolated and gives them an outlet to communicate regularly about the issues facing military spouses, having spouses deployed, transferring to other bases, and leaving community and friends. In 2015, she was named Fort Benning's Military Spouse of the Year by Military Spouses magazine. We've got a bunch of stuff to cover, so let's dive right into the interview. Welcome, Eryn, to the Veteran Resource Podcast. Good to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Now, I wanted to tell a quick story, and I don't even know how much of this story you know, Eryn, but the story of how I found out about Teach For America in the first place. I was on the staff of the Veteran Artist Program, which is a partner of Got Your Six, the same as Teach For America is. Yeah. And Got Your Six was partnered with Macy's for the campaign that Macy's was running to raise money for Got Your Six and its partners. Some of us partners were going and talking with the staff at Macy's, at the different Macy's stores, to kind of get them fired up about what they were doing and show them that the funds that they were raising was going right back to their communities. And so I had 7 Macy's stores on my list that I was going and talking to over the course of a couple weeks. And one of those stores, when I showed up for my appointment, Nathan Novosel from Teach For America also showed up for the same appointment. And we only had 5 minutes out of their 15-minute morning meeting to kind of talk to them. And so when Nathan showed up, I was kind of, nervous for a second, like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Because I've got this, speech prepared of what I'm going to say. And I guess it's my military training or something kicked in, and I was like, okay, we'll do this. And so I walked up to Nathan and I said, okay, so we have 5 minutes. Is there any problem with us both sharing the spotlight? He's like, yeah, let's do it. I went up there and I gave my quick 2-minute or so, intro, warmed up the crowd for Nathan, and then he came in and got them all fired up. And it worked out really great. And in that short 2 minutes that Nathan kind of talked about the organization, it was enough to get me really interested in finding out more. And so afterward, Nathan and I were talking, and I told him, more about the podcast, and he told me more about Teach For America, and I said, yeah, I definitely have to have you on. And from there, I was introduced to Vanessa and then to you. And so it all kind of worked out great. That little mishap of double booking us ended up working out for everybody.
For sure.
So, Eryn, I wanted to find out a little bit about your background, but before I do, could you give a brief overview of what Teach For America is, and then, go a little bit more specifically into the Military Veterans Initiative?
Yeah, sure. So Teach For America was founded in 1990. We're coming up on a strong 25 years, but really on the belief that all kids in our country deserve access to a great education, and that regardless of their zip code and their economic status. So the way we've gone about doing that over almost 25 years, we'll be celebrating 25 years in DC coming up
Nice.
In February of 2016. But what we do is we go out and we recruit, we train, and we support our nation's top college graduates and professionals who want to commit to teach in a low-income community for 2 years. And then I think another layer of that is also folks who have a desire to become lifelong leaders in the movement to end educational inequity. So that's Teach For America in a nutshell. But a little more specific about our Veterans Initiative and our Veterans and Spouse Initiative is it was founded in 2012. And what we were seeing there is that we really believed that the military has a culture of beliefs, traditions, what they teach and instill in our veterans and servicemen and women are things that make great teachers and attributes that we think all great teachers should have. And so we were like, why aren't we recruiting folks who, from organizations who have been doing this for hundreds of years?
Right.
The military has been doing this for a long time. They've been, cultivating members of, the service with, strong leadership skills, strong perseverance skills, folks who are dedicated, folks who, just possess a lot of integrity, people who don't give up. Those are things that we need in good teachers, especially in low-income communities where our kids don't always have access to teachers with those qualities. So we started recruiting in that area. And we also saw in about 2012 that we had a huge spike in applications from veterans from all 5 branches. So that was also something that triggered our interest in, or kind of made us feel like, why aren't we recruiting these folks? And in those folks, in that huge group of folks, or that huge spike where we saw in 2012 that we saw 2 things in our veteran applicants that we were like, yes, like we need more veterans to teach our kids because we know they'll do great things for our kids. And so the first thing that we saw was that our vet and spouse applicants still had a desire to serve. They wanted to do something after leaving their military careers. And, the passion is part of being a great teacher, really wanting to teach. And we also saw that those folks had a strong connection to want to teach. I think the second thing that we saw there was that leadership, commitment, and integrity that I was talking about a little bit earlier, that we see, and those are metrics that we measure in some of our most effective teachers. And so we were like, wow, these folks already come with these things. They want to do this work. And again, going back to what I said a few seconds ago, that the military has been cultivating these attributes in servicemen and women for hundreds of years. like no need to reinvent the wheel, but find folks who want to do this work.
Absolutely. Eryn, I want to get into a little bit more about Teach for America in a second, but first I wanted to get a little bit more background on you. As I understand it, you have some strong ties to the military, and I'd like to hear more about your background.
Yeah, my dad is a retired colonel. He served 28 years in the Army and flew Apaches. My younger brother just graduated from West Point about 3 weeks ago. And
Nice.
my husband is actually an infantry officer. And so I'm the military sister, spouse, and an Army brat. And so it's all in the family and a true piece of my identity as well.
Wow, that's great. I also understand that you are Fort Benning's Military Spouse of the Year. That's awesome.
Yeah, really, yeah, truly an honor and really grateful for my family, friends, and coworkers for pulling together and voting and supporting me. Teach for America actually nominated me, which was an honor within itself. I also lead the military spouse resource group at Teach for America, where the military spouses who work for the organization, we come together, we find ways to mentor and help and support military spouses specifically who are teaching or in the Corps. And then we also are trying to get more of a mentoring program off the ground where it can be a little more official rather than like one-off communication that we've been having. So that's what kind of got me put up for the slot and nominated. And I won Fort Benning Military Spouse of the Year, which has been really awesome. We've only been at Fort Benning for a little while, so I haven't been able to get too much off the ground, but part of my platform is consistent with what I do for a living, which is really awesome. And that's helping military spouses and veterans find employment opportunities. So I think it's really awesome that I'm able to still, as we're actually transitioning to Fort Bragg on Wednesday in North Carolina,
Oh,
where we're
nice.
PCSing. And so my platform won't just die here at Fort Benning, but something that I can continue to leverage through my job, which is being the Director of Veterans Initiative at Teach for America and helping, partner with organizations and continuing to find employment opportunities for veterans and spouses and just being an advocate of that.
That is just outstanding. Congratulations. That's a great
Thank
honor.
you. Thank you.
As I understand it, you also were on the other side of the table for Teach for America. When you first started, you came in as a teacher, correct?
Yeah, I came in as a teacher. I taught in Jacksonville, Florida. I taught 9th, 10th, and 11th grade English, which was interesting. I came in 2010, so our Veterans and Spouse Initiative had not been started. But what's unique about Jacksonville is it has two huge Navy bases. So there is Mayport and there's the Naval Air Station at Jacksonville. And so with that, NJROTC is huge in all of the schools. And so since I taught high school, I had several students who were involved in our NJROTC program at the school. And I made sure I held those students particularly a little more accountable for their actions, especially when they were wearing their uniform. I really wanted them to represent those qualities that I knew that they were learning in the program and the things that they were practicing, and just reminding them, like, you should not only practice those things when you're wearing the uniform and, when you're doing your duties for NJROTC, but also when you're sitting in the classroom. And so that was really a unique experience for me to just be around a military culture and live amongst two huge bases, because I was, detached from my dad at the time. My husband was stationed in Germany, so I stayed in Florida and was teaching. And I also had my brother come down on his spring break from West Point to actually spend a couple of days with both sets of my classes to just kind of talk to them about character and integrity and leadership and just thinking about things beyond what they see on a daily basis and what they're able to do. So that was a really great experience for me, teaching in an area where there was a military community.
That's great. That's really cool. And so now, since you were a teacher on the other side of the desk, you're your own success story for when you're talking to other teachers for this program.
Yeah, so I would say that definitely becoming a core member and teaching through Teach for America opened the doors for me to learn more about staff opportunities and learn more about what I could do after the core. And what I actually did was I got my master's while working full time. But Teach for America offers we have a veterans and spouse initiative, and it's mostly to recruit folks to teach, but that also opens pathways and opportunities and professional developments to kind of realize what you really want to do or figure out what you really want to do. If that's staying in the classroom, working with somebody in your region to get your credentialing so that you can, you have a professional certificate. And as a spouse, moving from place to place, that is something that's important. For me, having my professional certificate in Florida meant that I had reciprocity in several other states. And so if teaching was something that I wanted to continue to do, like I had the ability to continue to do that because of being certified in Florida and the reciprocity that Florida has. It's not like that everywhere, but there are places where when you get your certificate, it has reciprocity. Another side of that is even if you get your certificate and it doesn't exactly have reciprocity, or the reciprocity laws are a little wonky, you still don't have to start from the beginning, right? Because you already have credentialing. And so that's something that I think is very valuable. And then the opportunities on staff. Teach for America is an organization. It's a nonprofit, but it still is somewhat of a business. And so, I was talking to a spouse today. A matter of fact, we did grad school together, and she was applying for a role on full-time staff. And again, it's a flexible work location similar to what I do. And then I think the biggest thing that we were talking about that was not only the flexibility, so that when she moves, her job is going to go with her no matter where she moves, as long as it's not out in the country. But the fact that she gets to do something that she's extremely passionate about for an organization that she's passionate about. And I think when I talk to a lot of spouses in particular, and even veterans, sometimes it's hard to find something when they're, finished with their service that they are passionate about and can gel with, and then that also mixes with their lifestyle. And I think that that's one of the difficult pieces about finding employment post your service or even as a spouse. So I think that as an organization, the fact that Teach for America wants to partner with the veterans and spouse community because they care about veterans and they care about spouses, but B, there are opportunities here in the network. I mean, we have 37,000 alumni.
Wow.
All who are doing several different things, most of who are still, working in education and teaching. But we also have alumni who've gone on to be lawyers. We have alumni who've gone on to be politicians, alumni who've gone on to be school leaders. I mean, there's a network of 37,000 folks out there. And all it takes is for somebody to see Teach for America on your resume, and that already sets you apart. So, Teach for America continuing to make that stride to be a strong partner in the veteran community to help find veterans and spouses other opportunities after teaching and also employment opportunities with us because we care about veterans and we care about spouses.
And it seems like you have quite a few. You've got over 10,000 Teach for America core members. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have about 10,600 folks in classrooms.
Incredible.
Right now. Yeah, so, that is awesome. And that just keeps expanding. And like I said, we're still pretty young. We've been around. We're coming up on our 25th anniversary. And I know people who are 25 and they seem young, so the fact that we've been able to have that impact and being able to impact, we're in about 50 different regions, rural and urban regions across the country. So that's also another up, right? I mean, we're in Denver. Fort Carson is in Denver. We're in Eastern North Carolina. Fort Bragg is in that region. We're in Jacksonville, again, Navy bases. We're in San Diego. That's a huge Navy station. I mean, we're in places where we have military communities and partnering closer with those communities, and also where there are a lot of veterans and offering opportunities for like a lifelong career is something that I think is beneficial to the military community. but also beneficial to Teach for America because of what those folks bring.
Absolutely. The Military Veterans Initiative seems like such a no-brainer because, I mean, when you're in the military, everybody that's in the military is taught to train. I mean, you can't advance to the next higher grade until you can teach somebody else to do the job that you're doing. As you advance throughout, it seems like you're getting more and more and more opportunities to teach. And then you get out, and like you were saying, you still want to serve. This is right in line.
Yeah. And that's what, and that's what it is. It is service. What we do, as an organization, it's not to help a community because we feel sorry for a community, but it is service. It's a need, and it's a need that we can provide the man and woman power for. And I think that is important to bring everybody in with diverse experiences, perspectives, ideas, and thoughts to work with kids in low-income communities and give them that well-rounded education that they may not get if we don't provide them with the best teachers possible to give that to them.
Right. And Eryn, are you noticing successes in the schools where the Teach for America vets are placed?
Yeah, so we don't have extensive specific data quite yet on that since the initiative is still new. But what I can say is they're performing, our MilVet folks are performing just as well as civilians, I guess could say, for lack of a better word. We're seeing that leadership, that perseverance, that grit, that dedication pay off, that discipline pay off, and being able to lead their kids to high academic outcomes, similarly to, your traditional Corps member or civilian Corps member.
And you guys are doing active recruiting. Is that how you found out about it in the first place?
Yes. So we have an entire recruitment team made up of roughly 125 plus folks who are on campuses, connect with professional organizations, attend hiring fairs of all sorts. And we actively recruit folks to join the organization and to teach with us.
Excellent. And what about for veterans that join the program? Do you have ongoing professional development or anything like that to help them keep advancing?
Yes, we surely do. So when our Corps members, when they accept their offers and they join the Corps, this is for veterans and everybody, we host a summer, what we call 6-week teacher boot camp or institute that provides hand-on teaching experience and real-time coaching and feedback to folks. So they actually teach summer school that summer, and they get all of the professional development. They get classes, how to set up your lesson plan, all of that stuff, and get feedback on how to become better while in the process. Once our Corps members get to their regions, they will also get assigned a mentor teacher, or an MTLD as we call them. They're a manager of teacher leadership and development. And this person is attached to the Corps member for the 2 years, and they will visit the classroom, they will support you, they will help you navigate becoming an awesome teacher. They will do anything that you need as far as teaching and becoming a great teacher. That is what your MTLD there is for. Also, regions host all Corps conferences. Some regions call them, something different, but it is, it could be like a 3-hour Saturday session or evening session or what have you, where they invite other organizations, really good teachers or really effective teachers. And you can it's kind of like a workshop environment. And you can kind of pick what workshops you want to go to, what skills you want to build, and how you want to learn, and get a bunch of resources to take back to your classroom and use. I think something in the education world or the teacher world to say is that, we never reinvent the wheel. Somebody has already done it, and they've probably already done it really well. You beg, you borrow, you steal, you take it, and you make it your own, and you adapt it to what your students need. And so there is a wealth of resources in other Corps members. You'll be assigned that mentor teacher, and you'll go to the summer training to help you get started. And then we also have partnerships with other organizations and universities. So if it's something like you want to continue your education, we have a wealth of partnerships with your Ivy League schools, top 10 schools, top 20 schools, like the Columbia Teachers College. We have a partnership, and several folks that I know are actually going through their principal Academy right now. And it's an accelerated program. To think about it, you get a master's from Columbia,
Nice.
and then you become a principal or an assistant principal. We have, a couple of other partnerships. Some regions have specific partnerships. In Jacksonville, they have a partnership with the University of Florida to get a master's in educational leadership and policy, again, to be an administrator. So we also have that wealth of resources. And then for those who are interested in public policy or running for a political office eventually one day, we have partnerships with Leaders for Educational Equity, which that's what they do. They work on the policy and government sides, and it's kind of like a sister organization to Teach For America, or a partner organization with Teach For America as well. There are fellowships where you can go work on the Hill and do a fellowship, and hopefully that leads to a professional career change or a job or something of that sort. So we have a network, and there are lots of things that can happen both while you're in the Corps and when you finish your 2-year commitment, because of the connections and the way that we build relationships with other partners and organizations.
Very nice. Very nice. You should also, by the way, get plugged in with an organization called Hill Vets. They're helping a lot of veterans who are trying to get jobs on the Hill.
Yeah, most definitely. I will write that down now.
Excellent. Before we kind of get into some of the last questions, let's just say I am a veteran who's just getting out of the military. I don't know what I want to do, but I just heard this podcast and this really sounds like it's something I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Can you walk me through what the process looks like for somebody who's just now hearing about it?
Yeah. So there are a couple of things that can happen. I think the most organic thing seems to go to teachforamerica.org, and you can look at, there will be a tab at the top that says apply now or apply online. And that won't take you directly to the application, but will walk you through the steps on how to apply. But I also think there's something very valuable in a personal connection. And we have 2 special military recruiters, Brett Chappell and Edwin Exum. They are both retired Navy. Eddie is a retired commander, and Brett is a retired SEAL. And they are great folks to sit down and just talk to. Brett actually taught in the Corps. He was a 2012 Corps member, so he can tell you how it was to transition from being a veteran to even going to do some work outside of education and work in the public sector, and then come back and say, actually, I'm not really serving the way I want to serve, and this program looks like a way that I can continue to serve. And he taught. And so he joined the Corps, and now he works full-time staff, and he is a recruiter, and he recruits military veterans. And so those 2 guys, I think, or even myself, would be great folks to just talk to, so that you can get a little more one-on-one and understanding of how we support veterans specifically and what our Veterans Initiative is, and help you draw that connection between what it looks like for you to continue to serve in this capacity. So those names are Brett Chappell. Brett's last name is spelled Chappell, and Edwin Exum. His last name is Exum, and their email addresses are brett.chappell@teachforamerica.org and edwin.exum@teachforamerica.org. And those folks would be really awesome to just shoot an email to and just ask your questions and get more information that way before actually filling out an application.
Excellent, Eryn. And I will make sure that I will put the website and both of those people and their email addresses in the show notes of this episode. Make it nice and easy for the listeners.
Yes.
And before we get into the final 3 questions, do you have any success stories, obviously other than yourself, of other people that have gone through?
Yeah, so I talked about Brett a little bit, but I think that he is a really strong success example. He has a wealth of experience, working in the public and private sector, really feeling that civilian military divide. And when working in that sector and not really understanding, not really feeling like I'm serving the way that I want to serve. Like, this doesn't feel like, I don't have the same feelings as I had when I was, on a SEAL team or when I was a part of the Navy. I don't feel that camaraderie. And finding that in our organization and really being a person who wanted to, continue to use his leadership and really identify change. And so he joined the Corps. And then after doing that, I think that ignited even more fire in Brett and even more passion to continue to do this work on another level. And so now he's a special military veteran recruiter. He's extremely passionate about the work. He's a person I personally manage, but just looking at his plans and all the organizations that we should be connecting with and how we should connect and how they support veterans and just that wealth of knowledge, you can tell that he is extremely passionate about really investing in veterans and making sure that they have opportunities where they can really exert their leadership, really continue to make a difference outside the military. And he wouldn't be recruiting for Teach For America if he didn't believe that that was a place where you could do it. And so really grateful to have him on our team and for him to be able to carry his leadership over to continue to make change for our kids in low-income communities.
That's really great. I love hearing success stories. That's one of my favorite part of doing this podcast.
Yes.
Okay, Eryn, I'm about to get into the final 3 questions, but before I do, is there anything else that you'd like to go over that we might have missed in this interview?
No, I think it's just really important for folks to know that this is another place where you can serve. Our kids need veterans and spouses who come with all those great qualities that the military instills in them to bring those to our classroom and to help create opportunities for our kids and to help provide an excellent education for our kids. I think it's hard sometimes when you think about like, gosh, we have to go out. So, we have to search far and wide to find great teachers to teach in low-income communities, but those kids deserve it. Our kids deserve it. I think that it's really about, continuing to serve. This is another place where you can serve.
Excellent. Okay, and now we're ready for the final 3 questions.
Yeah,
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Eryn, who would you like to hear on a future episode of Veteran Resource Podcast?
I would love to hear military spouse employment partnership. They post a lot of stuff via social media about what opportunities are available to spouses all over the country and veterans. And I think that, connecting with them and really tapping into that network would be an awesome opportunity.
Outstanding. I will definitely reach out to them. Okay, question number 2. What upcoming project has you fired up right now?
I am really, really excited to get our recruitment season kicked off here at Teach For America. Last year, we had about 100 military veterans and spouses enter our classrooms across the country. We're shooting for 200 this year. So I am really excited to go ahead and get into the military community, partner with as many organizations as we possibly can, and build lasting partnerships, and go ahead and prepare for our recruitment season and get as many awesome military veterans and spouses as we possibly can into our classrooms for 2016.
Outstanding. Okay, and the final question, Eryn. This is the brain stretcher here. If you woke up tomorrow and you found out that somebody made an anonymous donation of $10 million to your organization, what would you do with the money?
Well, I would do several things, but first, I would really want to fund some specific programming for veterans in all of our regions, not just regions where we have big military bases, but regions where we can put on some specific programming that is tailored just to military veterans and spouses to continue to foster that community within Teach For America. I think I would also want to take a portion and donate a little bit to another initiative that supports veterans or another organization that supports veterans. I think that that's just the service in me wanting to help another organization. And then I think I would want to possibly maybe hire a couple of veterans myself for our team so that we could expand our recruitment efforts and our efforts to support veterans across the country who work for Teach For America.
Excellent. Well, listeners, if there's anybody out there with an extra $10 million and you're looking for a great place to put it, you heard what Eryn can do with it. And so for that person with the $10 million or for anybody else, what is the best place to get in contact with you?
Sure. It's my email. It would be Eryn, ERYN.Mounticure, MOUNTICURE, at teachforamerica.org.
Outstanding. And once again, I will make sure that I put that in the show notes with the other links. Eryn, thank you so much for this interview. I've learned a lot about Teach for America and the Military Veterans Initiative, and it's a really cool organization.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really glad that I could be here.
And also, good luck on your PCS.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Those are always fun. I always enjoyed it. I mean, a little bit stressful sometimes, but you get to meet a whole new group of people. It's usually pretty cool.
Yes, I'm really excited.
That was a great interview with Fort Benning's Military Spouse of the Year, Eryn Mounticure. And you got to hear all about Teach for America. And if you're looking for any more information, make sure you go to the show notes at veteranpodcast.com/012, and you can find out all the information as far as the links that were mentioned during the podcast. And you can get over to Teach for America and get plugged in with that organization. Hey, listeners, also, I just wanted to say I would love to hear some feedback from you. You could hit me up on Twitter at twitter.com/ParisJ13, or you could also just send me an email at jeremy@veteranpodcast.com. Just let me know, hey, love what you're doing with the show, or, what I would like to hear is this, or, oh, hey, you should check out this organization. They're doing great stuff. Thanks for tuning in to episode 12, and we will see you in episode 13.